I met a man named Mike Post, and Mike Post is and was one of the most prolific television writers of his era, and still is, by the way. And Mike was this amazing mentor, and he was so generous. Like, he would include there'd be a group of us that would be writing with him on every given show.
What were some of the shows he was doing
Oh
at
my
the time?
gosh, Hardcastle and McCormick, the A Team. The list is sort of endless. Any Stephen J. Cannell shows he was doing. So I met Mike. I'll never forget the night I met Mike. He took me to a set and they were filming something, and took me in his really fancy car, and it was just he and I, and blah, blah, blah. And we just had a kind of nice, lovely evening chatting. And I think he kind of liked me because I was kind of, fun. I wasn't too, stuffed shirt. And he liked that, I think. And so he invited me to start writing, and I did. So I would do a little bit for Mike every week. I'd do this Pooh Corner show, and, we got pregnant on our honeymoon, had our first child, and so I was a working composer right then.
When you were working for Mike, would you do pieces of these shows?
I would. Every week we'd go to Mike's office, and he'd have the bad guy theme of the week. He'd write it out, and it was usually a really cool little clever thing, bad guy. And so I would get those. Sometimes I'd get the bad guy cues. Sometimes I'd get the big chase scenes, because you kind of graduated into doing the big chase scenes because they were of a kind, And so I kind of worked my way up with him a bit.
And this was in an era when everything in television was an orchestra. This was live musicians, not synthesizers, mostly, right?
No, all live ensembles of different sizes. A Team was 30 people, and these sessions were fun because Mike would show up late. He'd be doing 8 shows, and so he'd have a really talented team, a core team, and I was the new person on the team. And he might show up, 15 minutes late, but one of his guys would go through the first few cues, we call them pieces of music, and they'd sound great. And the band, everybody knew each other, and Mike would walk in and hey, man, And he was very confident, very calm. And I'll never forget something he told me. There are many things he told me that were really great. First time I ever had a piece of music played by the orchestra, I just thought it sounded terrible, and I'm like, and on the break, I went up to Mike. Mike, I know I can do better next time. He turned to me, he goes, John, look, first thing is, don't sweat it. There's always another cue. There's always another chance. And then he told me, like, don't do this or this or this. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I was like, oh, God, thank God. But that's how he was. He just made you feel great. If you failed the first time, he gave you another shot. And not everybody kind of made it through, but for some reason I was there. And I probably worked with Mike for a good 2 years like that, off and on.